Now, what you probably know about layering is when it comes to style, it is a proven way to level up your game. What you probably don't know is how to layer clothes properly when the temperature drops. Seriously, learning to layer can give you a lot of options when the temperatures fluctuate, and if done properly, can look amazing. Now, with this combination, as you can see, I have a lot more options because when I'm hot, I slide this jacket just right off, and that would probably happen pretty soon unless I'm outside, but I've also got these multiple layers here. Got this double-breasted jacket, which is gonna look great in the office, but let's say it does get hot in the office and I decide, hey, I'm gonna peel that off as well. I still actually have this extra layer, this sweater on top, so that, yeah, they keep the office a bit cool. It's a lot better than just having that shirt. Next up, let's talk about how layering can help you look amazing and that most men never use this to their advantage. So the key with layering is understanding the subtle difference in textures and patterns. So when you look at right here, what patterns do you notice? The paisley right next to my face, helping to frame the face, and we have a solid, then we have a green with a bit of a texture. And that's what you notice. The texture right here in the corduroy, you've got those ribs. It's a cotton fabric, but it's not like the cotton that's right next to my skin. This cotton is nice and smooth. We've got a very tight weave. Then we've got this wool right here with that very soft texture. And it's that combination right here, all close together, layered on top of each other, which just gives a really nice uniform look. Point being is layer properly and you can stand out from the crowd and look awesome. So let's talk about your outerwear. Depending on where you're at in the world, you got to know your climate, but if you're going to have rain, if you're going to have sleet, if you're going to have snow, if you need something like a shell that's going to be water resistant, then that's what you need to have. Next up, you got to think about what's the temperature going to be. So after I've got my shell, after I get off that top layer, I like to have an insulation layer. So your insulation layer, and there can be multiple insulation layers, this is about keeping in heat. And that's what insulation does. It doesn't allow heat to escape. It also doesn't allow the cold to penetrate. It stops the movement of energy. So when we take this off, again, notice I've got another warming layer. So I've got my sweater right in here, and then I've got my shirt, and let's get down to the base layer. So underneath this, I have an undershirt and I have underwear. The next mistake is not understanding the limitations of certain materials. Now, I love suede, but if it rains a lot in your area, you're in Seattle, you've got to understand that suede is probably not the right material for you to be wearing as outerwear. Instead, you want to go for something that's probably going to be more practical. Just a regular leather is going to be a better option, or maybe going for a synthetic material that's going to naturally breathe and also repel the water away. Seriously, just because it's wintertime doesn't mean you need to go big and bulky. Now, you need to understand what's the purpose of the jacket. I've got an overcoat that is made to actually be worn over a suit. A little bit heavier, a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier than this right here. But this pea coat, when I actually saw this thing, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with a little bit closer of a fit. But I love it's very thick, very tough wool, and this is a work jacket. And just because it's cold outside, don't forget about accessories, sunglasses to be particular. So you got all that snow out there, you're driving, guess what? It is brighter than normal because all that light is being reflected off the white right into your eyes. In fact, if you know the history of sunglasses, the Inuit people up north, they were actually the first ones to come up with the idea for sunglasses, and they used wood sunglasses that just had a very small slit that you could barely see through, but it would help and prevent all that glare from coming in and hitting the eyes. Nowadays, you want to make sure that you're taking care of your eyes. Now, what about the head? This one, most of you guys have a watch cap and you're going to it, but why not have a little bit more fun? Why not actually bring in a cap that maybe has a little bit of insulation, keep your head warm, at the same time, bring a bit of style to your outfit? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Hat number 1, hat number 2, or hat number 3. Now, when it comes to layering, the first rule is to keep it simple, silly. Seriously, you don't need to overcomplicate this. You're not some Instagram post. You aren't necessarily a Facebook model. So don't think that you've got to layer 5 items. Guys, 2 to 3 is perfect. Look at this outfit I have right here. I've got my base blue shirt, then I've got my green knit, and then on top of that, I've got a brown leather jacket. Keep it simple. You don't want to make this overly complex because then you're not going to enjoy the process. Rule number 2, gentlemen, thin to thick. Basically, bulkier clothing on the outside, more form-fitting clothing as you get closer to the body. This makes sense. If you think about you are throwing clothing on top of each other. It makes sense. The thinner clothing needs to be closer to the body. The thicker clothing then goes on, and the bulky, heavy clothing goes on top of that. If you try to reverse this, try to change it up, you're going to start to have fit issues. You're going to have pieces that just aren't working together. You're not going to be able to move in the clothing as well and effectively layer, and it just doesn't look as good. good. Rule number 3, gentlemen, for looking great in a layered look is to fully leverage all the different materials, all the different weaves, all the different textures, all the different fabrics that are out there, and the emotions and the feelings that they convey. You've probably heard me in other videos talk about leather and how it sends a signal of strength and masculinity. I've also probably talked about some of the nap surfaces we see on knits and we see on certain shirts that make people want to go in there and touch. So think about that. You're wearing something that's rugged, that makes also people want to get close, women especially, and touch. If you're going on a date, why not have a rugged but approachable look? You see how this all plays in? And that's the power of layering. Rule number 4 to layering clothing, gentlemen, is understand every layer should be able to stand on its own. What does that mean? That means that you don't want to wear something that if worn by itself, it just wouldn't fit, it wouldn't look good. I know there are some hacks out there, and you can do this in a crunch where, yes, you could wear a well-fitted sweater over an ill-fitted shirt, but I still think that if someone, if you look at the back, you can sometimes see the clothing crinkling up underneath. I truly believe that every time you layer, every single piece should be able to stand on its own. Rule number 5, let's talk about layering patterns. Layering patterns is very similar to matching patterns. What you don't want to do is go with 2 patterns right next to each other. So the great thing about wearing knits is that knits, most of the time, they've got their own distinct textured pattern. They oftentimes don't have like different large patterns that repeat themselves, which you would see in shirts. So that's why I like knits. They kind of offer a very safe buffer. But if you're going maybe for a jacket that's got a herringbone weave in it, then you don't want to have a shirt that's got a herringbone weave, especially if they're going to be similar. So if you're going to wear a striped jacket, or you've got something that has stripes maybe on the sweater, you want to be careful about wearing similar sized stripes in the shirt. It just doesn't look as good. Rule number 6, tuck in your under layers. And I'm talking about your shirts here. So a lot of guys think that if they're going to layer, they can untuck their shirt. This can work if you're an advanced layerer and the shirt isn't too long. But once that shirt starts to go past the crotch area, if it covers your backside, if it looks like a dress, it's just not a look I think that flatters most men. The knit can be untucked. Jacket, obviously you're not tucking in your jackets. And if you're an advanced matcher, you are in the streetwear, you know what you're doing when it comes to layering, sure, go for it. Have fun with it. But to me, this is a bit advanced. You can really mess this up. Again, if you know what you're doing, it can work. But I think for most men just starting off, it's better to tuck in that underlayer. Now, this next rule is something that you never stop doing. Seek layering inspiration. So subscribe to magazines. Go check out Pinterest boards. I've got a copy of Esquire right here. I subscribe to GQ. I've got a number of other magazines that are sent to me. Start putting together, curating different looks that you like. At the end of the day, this has been done before very successfully by many men out there. So go out there, look at what they're doing. Be inspired, and there's nothing wrong with going out there and learning from the masters. Well, gents, here's the deal. If you're a man in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, looking to level yourself up, to find a community of like-minded warriors out there trying to improve their health, wealth, and purpose, well, gents, if that's you, you need to check out our new community, HWP. Over at HWP, we've got a step-by-step program to help men become their best selves. I've developed this program over the last decade, leveraging my experience as a former officer of Marines, business owner, and father. The reality is when you're 35, 45, 55, it's very difficult to find like-minded men looking to improve themselves. At HWP, we've got a supportive community, and we embrace the idea that daily, through small actions, if you just get better by 1%, over the period of months, you're going to see compound improvements and take measurable steps towards becoming the man you know yourself to be. Gents, if this at all sounds interesting, down in the description of today's video, go check us out. I'm putting a link over to Health, Wealth, Purpose, or you can just type it into your search bar, healthwealthpurpose.com. And yeah, you can learn more and see if this program is right for you. Quick note, this is an invitation-only group, meaning that you need to go through an application process. And I personally look over every application and do the interviews because we've discovered that it's really important we get the right fit, the right type of guys that are going to bring in the right energy, guys that are willing to show up and do the work to become their best self. Also, the average age is about 48, and there's only 20 men in each class. So don't wait, apply today, use the link in the description of today's video, and we'll get back to you. So first up, let's talk shirts. When it comes to casual shirts, you got the t-shirt, you've got the Henley. Both of those are great summer options. In the winter, not so much because they're immediately going to be covered and you're going to lose the art of layering. So what I lean towards is a shirt with a collar. Now, in general, 3 options here. You have dress shirts, you have casual button-downs, and you have polo shirts. Now, the traditional options when it comes to layering are going to be a well-fitted dress shirt or casual button down. Either one of those, assuming it is a good fit, you could slip a sweater right on top of that, then put a jacket and even a coat on top of that. These can work really well. Next up, gents, let's talk sweaters. Tons of options out there, but let's first start with the different style of necks. You're going to see crew necks, you're going to see V-necks, you're also going to see button mock necks, half zip mock necks, and one of my personal favorites, turtlenecks. Now, all these examples I just showed you are pull-over sweaters. You are going to see some sweaters that button all the way in the front. These are known as cardigans, and they come usually with two different types. You've got the standard collar cardigan, and then you've got the Charlotte collar cardigan. Now, in general, when it comes to layering, I love the V-neck because it's going to do a great job of showing the collar. If you're going with a crew neck, depending on how tight it is, you're probably not going to be able to easily show a collar, although you can sometimes if you're wearing a necktie and if it's a little bit loose. When it comes to the turtleneck, no, you don't want to wear a necktie underneath this. This is when you can wear, just a casual t-shirt or even a long sleeve Henley on this underneath it. But yeah, usually with the turtleneck, it's going to be that turtleneck, which is going to draw all the attention. And it's a great look. Now, when it comes to those different styles, I think that body type plays a lot into this. The V-neck is going to be the most versatile. If you are a rounder, a larger guy, or even a skinny guy, a V-neck, especially layered with a collared shirt, whether you wear a necktie or not, is a great look. Now, when it comes to that crew neck, this is harder for rounder guys, bigger guys to pull off. They still can, especially if it's a little bit, just got a nice fit to it. But for skinnier guys, that crew neck is going to be something that looks good, especially also for thinner guys. They can pull off the turtleneck. Now, can a larger guy pull off a turtleneck? If he has a longer neck and if he's not overweight. If it looks like you have no neck, do not try to pull off a turtleneck. It's just, not a great look. That being said, if you think you can pull it off, if you're like Antonio, man, I can make it rock, then you go for it. Now, for a man's first two sweaters, especially those he's going to layer with, I say keep it simple. There's a reason I default to gray. Why? It's a non-color. It's easy to dress up, dress down, to match with a wide variety of colors because it is a non-color. So I'm not saying you got to go with gray, but I will say go with something solid and look for something that's already going to work with other items in your wardrobe. An easy way to determine this is find something that just complements your shirts or matches a color in the jacket. And it doesn't really matter if you wear a sweater and a jacket that are about the same color. The difference in the texture is going to allow people to easily see there's a difference. Next up, let's talk about casual jackets. And in case you're wondering the difference between a jacket and a coat, a jacket is something that actually can have a layer on top of it. Coats do not allow for another layer on top, and jackets are normally shorter. You're not going to see jackets go past the curvature of the buttocks, and many jackets go right and end right at the waist. Now, different types of casual jackets out there. You saw throughout this video, I was wearing a leather jacket. I could have easily substituted that for a suede jacket. Both options I've made videos ad nauseum about, and I love them. I have plenty in my wardrobe. Now, the field jacket, this one is really underutilized, and what I love about it is oftentimes they come in a very lightweight material. So right here, as you can see, I've put that layer over the sweater, and because of the length of the jackets, the pockets right here, it's going to give a bit more depth. It definitely, again, really relatively monochromatic look here, but this green is one of my favorite colors. So always bring in solids as well with most jackets, your first couple jackets, then maybe your third or fourth, you can bring in a pattern. Patterns are great for sports jackets, and sports jackets are casual. I know some guys think sports jackets are suits. They're not. A suit is it's a jacket and trousers made from the same material, usually in a dark color that's solid. Now, sports jackets, as the name implies, come in a wide variety of different materials, different colors, because they were intended to be sportier, more fun. In fact, the first sports jackets were worn to be hunting. So these are oftentimes made from more durable materials such as tweed. And I would say if you can bring in the sport jacket to your wardrobe, this is like the secret weapon to really level up your fall and winter and even spring wardrobe. But I get it. If that's too dressy for you, then again, look to the trucker jacket, the jean jacket. These are great options here, and actually they come in a wide variety of colors and more materials than just denim. And if you want to bring in something more classic, maybe look at the Blouson jacket, the Harrington jacket. Maybe go for a style like a bomber or a flight jacket that isn't even made from leather. There's a wide variety of different materials. This right here is just a great option. You can even bring in a varsity jacket. Next up, we've got coats. Now, when it comes to coats, function first. But if you've got that covered, you can start to have fun. And I do think if you live in an area like I do here in Wisconsin, if you're over in Minneapolis, guys, you should have a few, at least few coats in your wardrobe to be able to change it up and have fun. Have a parka because it gets deathly cold when it's negative 30. That being said, when it's just 30 degrees, maybe have a little bit of fun. Look for one of those top coats that you can wear over your suit and has a great look to it. Maybe when it gets down to 0, you're in Chicago, hey, you still want to be able to pull off, your dad was in the Navy, you want to pull off a pea coat. They have a long storied history and are incredibly versatile and warm. Maybe you're English and your great-grandfather served in the Great War. Well, bring in the duffel coat. There were some great historic photos, and this jacket can still be found and is incredibly functional and warm and looks good. Now, for you guys out in California, I get it. You're not getting crazy winters, but you got also some options. Maybe the trench coat, yes, has a classic military history, but also featured in the movie Casablanca and a wide range of other movies. Yeah, most people aren't even thinking to pull off a trench coat, but yeah, it is functional. And you can even bring in maybe a waxed jacket. You're up in the Northwest. Hey, I know you get a lot of rain. That is your guys' idea of snow, but wear a jacket that's going to be functional, has classic, maybe a classic Barber. Now, a lot of those coats and jackets can cost a pretty penny. So I would go with simple solids that you can add flavor. Remember we talked about color early on? Well, this is where you have fun with accessories. So scarves, gloves. Guys, you see some gloves out there with a bit of color, they can really add a pop to the whole look, and you can keep that coat relatively simple. Bring in a scarf with a variety of colors. Have a few options right here. It totally changes up the look when you wear the scarf, especially if you know how to tie that scarf knot right. All right, Jen, so let's talk headwear. You got tons of options, I know, during the summer, but you got just as many during the winter. And a lot of guys, yeah, they wear the beanie, the same beanie they've been wearing for years. How about upgrade that? Go with something with a little bit thicker, heavier of a stitch, made from a better material. You've got that cotton one, bring in something that's made from a wool or maybe even a cashmere wool blend. Yes, it's a little bit pricier, but it looks so much better. How about even level up that? Let's go for a newsboy. Let's go for a flat cap. You can find these insulated and they do a really great job of not only keeping the head warm, keeping the snow off your head, but they're just stylish. They look good. I'm not saying you got to go all trilby or fedora. You don't have to bring in anything like that, or ushanka. Although, if you've got a Russian or Ukrainian heritage, go for it. But I do think this is just simply an easy way for a guy to be more stylish, is to bring in a nice insulated hat. Now, if you're in the Midwest, maybe, up in Michigan, you could bring in that Stormy Cromber. I think it's originally from that area, isn't it? And now let's get into trousers. So the base layer of the trousers, if you live in an area of the world that it gets below 0, consider thermal underwear. Now, there's a lot of cheap options out there. I do recommend spending a little bit more, especially when it comes to the bottoms. You want something that's insulated, that just fits well, is comfortable, doesn't have any hot spots, and this can make a huge difference, especially if you're not buying specialty, heavier weight winter pants. That being said, a heavier weight jean is a decent start, and for a lot of guys, this is a lot more stylish, especially in a raw denim, but there are specialty materials like cavalry twill, moleskin. You can find a wide variety if you look for flannels. I know sometimes I just walk into specialty menswear stores, and this would be in the mall when I'm traveling. I just say, hey, do you have any flannels? And they've usually got a few pairs, sometimes in different styles, shape, just basically they look like jeans, except they're made from a napped material. This basically has a little bit of a 3-dimensional weave to it, so it's going to better insulate because it's going to trap just a little bit of air, and they are really comfortable. And I really just like how, they change up the whole, they fit like jeans, but they look better. Now, of course, you can always get gray flannels in a dress pant. If you look for them, again, going into finer menswear stores or just looking online, there are some options out there. You're also going to see moleskin. This is going to usually be made from cotton, and it has, again, a little bit of a napped surface. And let's not forget corduroy. I know a lot of you guys remember this maybe as a kid. You had a pair. Nothing wrong with bringing them back. You're going to see different amounts of wales, 7 wales or 11 wales. That's actually the number of ribs per inch, and I would go with the 11. And of course, we can't forget the foundation of a man's wardrobe, his shoes. So when it comes to dressing up, especially during the colder months, whenever the ground is a little bit more slick, you want to make sure, especially on your shoes, your dress shoes, that you've got a bit of traction. So look for rubber soles or a mixture of leather with rubber right there on the front. I also like to go with shoes with a Goodyear welt. These are going to be more water resistant, and basically that's the stitching where the bottom and the top have can basically be resoled. Now, if you're going to stick with sneakers, avoid the solid whites and avoid anything made from a canvas material, especially when there's going to be rain, there's going to be slush, there's going to be snow on the ground. You want something that can get a little bit dirty and is easier to clean up. That's why I like leather, and I like leather sneakers in a darker color. But my favorite footwear during the cold months, boots, especially boots that can deal with the elements, that easily slip on and off, work with my wardrobe. And guys, if you want to see the ultimate video on how to find the perfect pair of boots, I go over 10 different styles, how to find the right style for you and buy it and get a great deal. Guys, I've got you covered in this video right here. I just made it a while back. It is a solid video, so go check it out. A really good one if, again, you are in the market for boots. Yeah, check out this video. Boom, right here.